Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Chris Elliott Show. Coach Elliott will join us. I guess we need to start calling him Coach E. He'll join us in just a few minutes. And Vic Jazeski, we're going to make sure we get the name. Vic's going to be in a few minutes and give us the right way to pronounce his last name, even as your announcers. Sometimes we struggle with that. And Anthony DeBonis will join us as well. Two of the Wildcats will join us and talk about their careers here and talk about the upcoming Campbellsville game. And Zach O'Kelly is with us in this opening segment, as always, our co-host. And Zach, welcome aboard again, sir. And what a big win for the Cats last week.
It was a great day to be a Wildcat here Saturday, Wildcat Stadium. The fans got to see a huge win, first big win for the Wildcats this season at home. So
I talked about in the article that we wrote for Wildcat, for BethelAthletics.com, I talked about the fact that it was a dominant win, I thought.
It was kind of a role reversal from the previous week, and which, Union kind of fell in the same kind of perils that we did the week before against Cumberland's. But the momentum swung the Wildcats' way, and it stayed there all day.
We had some offensive highlights that we segued in our, we'll talk about a little bit later in the program, but we talked about this on BethelAthletics.com. Raymer, 2 first-half rushing touchdowns. Kerry Sellers, 3 rushing touchdowns on the day. Walden had a 60-yard score. Walden caught a 90-yard pass from Sellers, which set a new record for a pass reception for a touchdown and a throw for a touchdown. You look at Braxton Vargas, played well. The sophomore coming off the bench later when the game was basically decided, but he really played well. Walden, 4 receptions, 112 yards. Raymer, 104 yards. Sellers, 72 yards. Hicks, 42 yards. Offensive line was superb. On the defensive side, Joshua Burns led Bethel with 10 tackles. Brenton Davis had a big game. We'll talk about Brenton later. Jensen Youngblood will be mentioned in our program later, along with Max Massengill. Terrence Thomas had an impact with 2.5 sacks and 2.5 tackles for the loss and the victory. Aaron Francis had an interception. Jalen Baker completed the defensive effort with a fumble recovery. So, that list goes on and on and on, just some of the highlights of the game.
And you hit the who's who of the Wildcats who've been performing outstandingly, which both offensively and defensively last week played exceptional. And Terrence Thomas now leading the team in sacks as well.
I want to thank our crowd. I want to thank our fans for being here as well. It was, we anticipated maybe not having a bigger crowd as we normally have, and it wasn't quite the monstrous crowd that we had hoped for, but with the students gone for fall break, I still take my hats off to the Bethel fans. I thought it was a great crowd here.
It was a great ambiance here. It was almost kind of similar to what we have in Grisp Arena for basketball and volleyball.
We expect a big one this week. It's homecoming. A lot of festivities. We'll talk later in the program about when things are going to take place with the Hall of Fame acknowledgments, and we'll talk about the homecoming king and king and queen. And no, I do not know. I had the script, but they left blanks there, so I can't tell you. Give you a little tease on who it's going to be. But a big day of pageantry around football.
They haven't told you who the queen and king is going to be yet?
Not yet. No one from our
Well, they've
office.
already told me.
Oh, have they? Okay,
Yeah,
well, you'll have to whisper in my ear a little later. Well, the big news is the Campbellsville Tigers come to town. Great quarterback, great offensive unit. Struggle a little bit defensively, but I think they'll be salty when they get here. Tell me your thoughts about the Campbellsville game.
Well, you got 2 coaches that really respect each other. Coach Perry Thomas from Campbellsville has done a great job there in his tenure really there. And Coach Elliott, the 2 guys, they respect each other pretty well. It's going to be two scholars of the game facing off against each other and see what their teams can do. It's going to be I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I think it's going to be closer than most people think.
We'll get a score in just a minute. Speaking of scores, how did you do last week when you pick them?
Well, I went 6-0 2 weeks ago. Last week, or week before, the first that week, and then went 3-3 the previous week, and then last week I went back to perfection, 6-0 again. 6-0.
So you're 6-0, 3-3, 6-0. If history follows itself, you should be 3-3 this week then.
Well, we're trying to avoid that.
Let's avoid that. What's your overall record thus far?
29-6.
29-6. That's awfully impressive, folks. Out of 35 games, Bridget, he's picked 29 right on the spot. Without further ado, let's get right to the scoreboard this week. Get some thoughts. I'm going to throw a hammer at you right off the bat. Number 8, Reinhardt at Cumberland, Tennessee.
Cumberland's been playing well here of late. Started off a little rocky. Reinhardt 6-0 on the season. They're going to be traveling here to nearby Lebanon to play the Bulldogs at home. Reinhardt has Lindsey Wilson next week. I hope they're not looking forward.
Could be a trap game.
Could be a trap game, but the Reinhardt's been rolling, and that could set up a huge match next week with Lindsey Wilson. Both of them. I've got Reinhardt with a slight edge there as well, and that'll set up a good matchup with Lindsey Wilson.
Give me a score.
41-27.
41-27. I like that score. I was thinking maybe it's along the same lines. I threw you a little curveball there because you thought I was going to start with Faulkner and Lindsey Wilson. I'm holding that for a little bit. Union at Georgetown. The Tigers have sort of righted their ship, and it's senior day up in Tigerland.
It's kind of unusual for, as we were talking about that earlier today, Georgetown 2-4 in the season. They've played 6 games. This will be their 7th game. They'll be on the road the rest of the season. So, Georgetown is starting out a little slow, losing a couple early games at home. I expect the seniors to stand out and say, hey, we're going to win this last hurrah for the home fans. So, which Union coming in 0-5, they're kind of on hard times right now. They're a scrappy bunch. They're on a 12-game losing streak, but I think Georgetown will be too much for them.
We'll talk about money games and divisional games here in just a few minutes with the Bethel Wildcats with our special guest today, Vic and Anthony, and, of course, Coach Chris Elliott. But you look at the East, they're 2-4. Look who's on top. I know they have the game coming up against Cumberland's Kentucky in Williamsburg later this year. They'll be underdogs in that one. But look who's leading the East.
It's uncanny that
Georgetown.
Georgetown has won 2 games, but they've won the 2 games that mattered.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Yeah.
All right, Cumberland's Kentucky at Kentucky Christian. And I'm gonna preface before you give your pick. I'll give you the score on that Union Georgetown.
Yeah, Union Georgetown. Georgetown 31, Union 17.
I think it's going to be 42-17, somewhere along in there. Just a thought. But before we get to the Cumberland's Kentucky Christian pick, and I think you and I both will go with Cumberland's Kentucky, no surprise here. I'm surprised they didn't make the top 25.
I'm surprised that Cumberland's Kentucky fell out. Fell out of receiving votes.
Yeah,
as well. So
I'm surprised they're not in the top 25 though.
Well, and I guess going back to what we said, Georgetown, that's going to be homecoming and senior day too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's going to be a big one. Should be for them.
Cumberland's Kentucky should have no problems with KCU.
Well, it's the Kentucky Christians homecoming as well. Cumberland's Kentucky coming in 4-2, right there behind Georgetown in the East, and Cumberland's Kentucky still looking for that first win of the season. Cumberland's Kentucky is. Kentucky Christian looking at the first win, but Cumberland's Kentucky is really playing well, and I think they're going to have a pretty good get-go this weekend, and looking forward to the later on. 63-10.
63-10. I don't know that it'll be that bad, but I'm going to say Cumberland's Kentucky. I'm going to say 52-10. That's still pretty bad.
Well,
all right. The last game before our game, before the big one, with Campbellsville coming into Wildcat Stadium to take on our Cats, number 18 Faulkner lost 2 in a row now against the powerful number 1 Blue Raiders of Lindsey Wilson in Columbia.
And Lindsey Wilson, as we said, undefeated, 5-0. Faulkner started out 3-0, has dropped 2 here.
They still score points. They've had trouble stopping people.
And the offensive units were working great for Faulkner, both and Lindsey Wilson as well. Both teams are pretty stout on the offensive side of the ball. I think Lindsey Wilson may have a little too much momentum going on.
You think a high scoring affair, don't you?
I haven't picked a game yet this year with over 100 points, and I think this is the first one. So,
oh my goodness. With basketball here or football?
It's gonna be a defensive basketball struggle.
All right, give me a score.
59-45.
59-45 Lindsey Wilson. I don't think there'll be as many points scored as you think. I think they're going to settle in a little bit. I'm going to say 48-27 Lindsey.
That's still a lot of points for a football game.
Yeah. And again, we brag about Lindsey Wilson Stadium. It's one of my favorite places to visit up there. And the final game, the Campbellsville Fighting Tigers. Now, we refer to them as the Tigers, but they're really the Fighting Tigers. The Fighting Tigers out of the Commonwealth coming down to take on the Bethel Wildcats, coming off a very impressive win. How do you see our game?
This will be homecoming for Bethel, so this will be the third homecoming matchup this weekend in the Mid-South Conference. Bethel looking to compound on the big win last weekend against Union. Right. They look very, very well-oiled machine, on the field last week. Campbellsville won homecoming last week against Pikeville, so in a close matchup, that they were ahead, at least 2 scores, and Pikeville came back into it, made it interesting in the end. So, looking at them on paper, Bethel likes to run the ball. Campbellsville is giving up a few yards on the ground, but you turn the coin, Campbellsville's putting up a lot of numbers in the air. But Bethel's secondary, the first part of the year has, with a lot of a lot of freshmen, a lot of younger players out on the field to start the season. But you got to look at it. They've got 6 games under their belt, and they've got a lot more experience now. So, and halfway through the season, they can turn a good freshman into a pretty decent secondary player.
No
So
doubt.
I've got this being a very close game, and I've got to go 28-27 Bethel.
28-27 Bethel. He was wavering in the office earlier today, Bridget. He was really.
And if you look at my sheet,
he thought he might even go with Campbellsville at one time. I'm proud of you, because I'm going with the Cats as well. I think it's going to be 35 to 28 Cats.
well, and if you look at my sheet, that's not what I had originally
I
thought
really like
too.
the way
so,
we're playing right now. Yeah.
But I mean, and it's and if you look back at the previous years, the Cats have started out slow. Wildcats started out slow a couple seasons and have went on to finish out pretty good this latter part of the season. They, a lot of it, on-field experience to the younger players.
Sure. A couple of notes about this ball game. The series, you look at it, it was pretty well. It's been a close series. Well, especially as of late. But Bethel has won. We went back through the homecoming dates. Bethel has won 7 homecoming games in a row. I think it's going to be 8.
I agree with you. I think it'll be 8. The Cats are very spirited. I came and watched by with practice yesterday, and there was a lot of. It was almost like there was the Goodyear blimp here over practice. Everybody was just
Sure.
high spirited. Playing looked very crisp as well. So
We have some common opponents. Just to run over some common opponents real quick. The two have 3 common opponents. Bethel lost to Cumberland's. Campbellsville lost their season opener to the Patriots, 27-24. Bethel lost to the Patriots 59-7. Both beat Union. The Tigers prevail 37-23, while Bethel upended the Dogs 58-17. Campbellsville beat Pikeville 42-34. We sort of snuck it up that day. We lost here 22-0. The series, this will be the 12th game in the series. They lead the series 8-3, but it's a little closer than that because there have been some really competitive games. Always fun to co-host with you.
Oh, yeah.
The boys are coming up next. That's Vic, Anthony, and Coach Chris Elliott, all to come up in just a few minutes.
The real stars.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for our opening segment. When we come back, some very special guests. Some of the Cats themselves are in the press box with us, and then Coach Chris Elliott still to come. This is Wildcat Vision. I'm Diamond Dave McCulley. Back right after this. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Chris Elliott Show this week as the Cats get ready to take on a Campbellsville Tiger Ball Club out of Campbellsville, Kentucky. It's the first Western Divisional battle of the year. Coach Elliott will join us in a few minutes, and of course, we hope you enjoyed the opening segment with the very, very talented Zach O'Kelly. His record speaks for itself as far as his pick'em is concerned. We'll talk a little bit about that when we close out today as well. But Coach Elliott will join us in a few minutes. But a little bit of change of pace this week as we have a couple of players in with us. And Vic is with us, and I'm going to ask you, Vic, again. I think we've all butchered your name. You are a senior, and I think on the radio side, on Wildcat Vision, Vic, give us all, and give our Bethel fans the correct pronunciation of your last name.
Correct pronunciation. Vic Szejewski.
Szejewski. Just like Coach K.
Just like Coach K. His is KR. ZYZ, EWSKI, mine's just CZYZ, so just about the same pronunciation. Them Polish guys.
You've had a great career with us.
I appreciate it.
Talk a little bit about your experience at Bethel before we talk about the game.
It's been a great experience. Came in 2010 and played as a freshman and ended up getting injured and stuff like that. Things didn't really work out. I ended up transferring actually back home to Florida for a couple seasons and was planning on playing there. Ended up just being a student.
Sure.
Decided I missed the game way too much and needed to be back. Called Coach Elliott and got the scholarship back and got back on the road with us in 2013.
Now, I spent quite a bit of time in Florida this summer, although I really didn't want to be down there as long as I was because I was. But Merritt Island, tell the folks where that is.
Merritt Island, it's right there by Cocoa Beach, Florida. It's in the 321. It's right by Cape Canaveral where they shoot off the rockets and Kennedy Space Center.
Yep.
Beautiful town, right on the beach, and I live where people vacation, so it's pretty nice.
Go back to when you were in high school. What brought you to Bethel?
Actually, what brought me to Bethel was Coach Tillman, Willie Tillman. Great.
He's back down there.
Yes, he is. He's back at FIT. Great coach. Love him to death. He brought me up here on a visit, and he told me, Vic, this is a good spot for you to play, and we just talked it out, and I trusted him and trusted the process, and just signed, and man, it happened.
I'm not just saying it because Anthony DeBonis is going to be with us as well. And I'm not saying it just because these guys are in the studio with us. So they feel right behind us. We're actually in the press box, if you want to call it the studio. This is actually where you are presented Wildcat Vision each home game. But I don't know, it's something about linebackers. When I grew up, I always wanted to be a linebacker. We have had a great tradition of linebackers at this school. And I know that you know some of the predecessors that were here before you came. And I know that you guys are setting the legacy for people following you.
Absolutely.
But it's a fun position to play in.
Oh, it's great. I mean, ever since I was born, I mean, my dad basically my dad and my grandfather just put it in my brain that I was going to be a linebacker. They always told me I had a natural, nose for the football. And I played a little bit of offense growing up and everything, but coming into high school, just had to play defense. Defense sets the tone. They say, the crowd is here to watch the offense, But, defense wins championships, so.
Now, we're going to talk to Anthony in just a minute, but I know you've missed his presence on the field.
Oh, absolutely.
His presence is still there on the sideline.
Yeah.
Spiritual leader for you guys, but I know you've missed him on the field.
Yeah, Anthony's actually one of my best friends, absolutely, and he's my roommate right now, and we've been roommates in the dorms and stuff, and, when we played together in the spring, we were on a string, and that's what all linebackers want to do. That's linebacker core, be on a string and be, I got his back, he's got mine. I don't really got to worry about what he's doing because I know that he's going to do his job. And, with him going down a couple springs ago, it was just really tough, really tough losing him. But he came back, and then, another unlucky thing that happened. But that's part of the game, that's the nature of the beast. And, it is tough. It's tough not having him out there, but, we make up for it. I got Max Massengill next to me and Brian Reynolds and, a couple freshmen.
Brenton Davis out there, too.
Oh, yeah, Brenton Davis. Oh, yeah, Brenton Davis is coming outside, and he's
our defense is built around you guys making and having responsibility to make a lot of tackles. Now, that's not taking anything away from our front three.
Oh, yeah.
But those guys have played well as well. I mean, you look at some of the sacks and some of the tackles for losses, and we'll talk about it in our telecast this coming Saturday. But, again, accentuating the linebackers, our defense is built around you guys making a lot of stops.
Yes, sir. Our front line, I mean, we got Terrence Thomas, we got Colin O'Brien, and Jerry Bradford, and Glenn Davis. We got everybody down there, and they're doing a great job holding their blocks. Basically, as a linebacker, I want them to hold their blocks so we can roam free and make plays. So when when we're making the plays in the backfield or making the tackles, it's all the praise to them because they're doing their job.
Tough league, and we're about to get into the toughest and the heavy meat of the schedule with these divisional games. It's Mid-South year in, year out is really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's the SEC, the NAIA. I mean, every week you see 50 points here, 60 points there, and I'm excited for it. Like Coach said, it's this is money game right here. We call it the money games, and just like last year, last 5 games this season we won out, and we plan on doing it this year, tale of 2 seasons. It started off a little shaky. But lately we've been having some good practices, and I think everybody's mind's right. And, a lot of young kids on the team right now, but they shook it off and got all that, freshman mistakes out of the way, and technically they're not really freshmen anymore. So now we're ready for them to make some plays too.
We put 58 points on the board last week. Everyone talks about the offense, and well, they should. But I thought the defensive unit played really a sound football game. I thought we really took a lot of things away from Union.
Absolutely. I mean, starting off the game with that turnover by Jensen Youngblood, that was huge. TT picked it up, and that just set the tone. And Coach Fells has always been stressing about, we need the big mo, which is the big momentum. Right. And having that turnover, getting to the ball and, having a knack for the ball and getting it out and giving it back to Carey in our offense, and that's what we want to do. And we know that Carey and Bala and all of them, they could shove it down the field and give it to Quincy and let Quincy do what he does. And, it's a sight to see, so we love to do that.
We may very well see the best quarterback, and this is no slam against the other quarterbacks. Faulkner's got a really good one. And, I mean, we look at Lindsey Wilson, we see what they're doing, number 1 in the country, we face them later. But Jacob Russell may be one of the best, if not the best quarterback we see all year. Game plan a little bit against him. They love to pass.
Yeah, Russell's a great. I watched film on him and the kick and throw, and we respect that, and we got a little plan for him, and basically we just got to get after it. We got to cover, and we got to give him some pressure, and don't let him get too comfortable because you've seen all year what he likes to do, and he apparently he's the leading passer in the nation, and is very respectable, but you can't let that happen here.
I sense a lot of confidence among us right now.
Absolutely. Coming off that big win last week, and then this whole week of practice, everyone's kind of hyped up, ready to win our first conference game at home. Plus, it's homecoming, so we got a big crowd coming. So we're ready to rock.
And despite the fact that it's homecoming, some coaches like homecoming, some frown upon it. Coach Elliott, he's in there in between somewhere. I mean, he understands the importance of homecoming, but at the same time, got to keep her focused, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, it's just another game, honestly, for us. I mean, it's nothing too big, nothing too small, but it's our first money game, so it's very important. And actually, all our games from now on are money games. So I mean, whether we're here or whether we're in Alabama or Georgia, it doesn't matter what game it is, but we're gonna have to take care of business.
Vic, let's close out this career with a great 5 games, and I'd be remiss. Your dad watches. I understand he watches our program, and is always sort of telling me and O'Kelly, or pointing out to O'Kelly and I that we need to keep improving. But I'm just teasing. But the bottom line is, your dad's one of your biggest fans, if not your biggest. How do you want to say hello to your family?
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to say hi to you, Dad. Thank you for everything. Grandpa, thank you. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Thank you, Mom. I love you so much. And, thank you, everybody in Merritt Island, Florida. And I want to put it on the map this year.
Go Cats.
Go Cats, baby.
Thanks, Vic, for joining us. Anthony will join us in just a minute. We'll be back with him, and then still to come, the Chris Elliott Show, Coach Elliott and Zach O'Kelly with some closing thoughts. All of that coming up. Stay with us. This is Wildcat Vision. Welcome back to the Chris Elliott Show. Some of the players joining us this week, and you just heard from Vic. And here's Anthony. Anthony DeBonis, a good buddy of ours, Fort Myers, Florida native, and he's had a great career here. Unfortunately, it's been hampered by injuries, and Anthony, we want to have you on. And I know it's been tough for you. Vic just talked about the fact that what is still a big, important facet of this ball club you are, but I know it's been tough on you on the sidelines and not on the field.
Yes, sir. I mean, obviously the big important thing in this game is to stay healthy.
Sure.
Obviously if you can't stay healthy, you can't be on the field to make the plays. But, I've through these injuries, I've grown, to be more supportive as a teammate more than, doing the acts on the field, just being on there for the team, just doing everything I can but the physical acts, be more for the teammates mentally and spiritually, stuff like that, So.
I know that all the years, 30 years of high school and 25 years now of college football and college athletics, I know I've heard coaches say so many times that the game mirrors life. It knocks you down. You got to get back up, though, don't you?
Absolutely. I couldn't actually say it better than myself. It's not the moments that, that are you're in triumph that, really show who you are. It's when you're down in the dirt, you're in the grind, stuff happens, stuff doesn't go your way, that really shows true character in a person,
Led us in tackles a couple of years ago, and certainly one of the great facets of that good run we had, and still having good runs. I mean, Vic talked about the 5 we won in a row last year and those kind of things. Been a good career for you. One of the highlights of your career. Give me a couple of highlights.
Oh, man. Bring me back. I actually have on my rings, my freshman and sophomore year. Moment I'll never forget, sophomore year, second round of the playoffs against Georgetown. Man, defense played like a lights-out game. That was the #1 team in the nation. And been on the field stopping that monster of an offense. We had a really good defense that year too, but we didn't really start clicking until towards the end of the season. Never forget it. We stop them. And we actually get an interception. And our safety of ours thought it was a good idea to pitch it. In the last seconds of the game, we won it. He gets down, we kneel the ball, we win. He wants to pitch it, fumbles it, recovers it. They end up scoring.
Go ahead.
A couple seconds left. They're winning by 6 points, and they actually kick it off to the #1 returner in the nation.
Yep.
And he takes it back for 6, and we win by 1 point, 45-44. Go Cats.
Of all the games that's right, Go Cats. Of all the games I've done through the years, the radio station did not tape the game that day. Even I'd like to hear my own call, and I'm modest about that. I don't like to listen to myself because I'm too critical sometimes. But I'd love to have the replay of that. But I'll never forget, folks. I went down, and not being risque or anything, but when you're on the air, and I was by myself for the most part that day. Lovely wife Peggy was in the booth with me, but before I pack up equipment after Coach Elliott, everyone's on with I have to run to the restroom. And I'll never forget going down the steps, and all the Georgetown fans are down there going, "Why did we kick the ball to that guy?" And I'm thinking, "Yeah, why did you kick the ball?" But anyway, we won. Fort Myers, your hometown. A little bit like Vic. Tell us how you got to Bethel.
Yes, sir. Coming out of high school, Coach Cackless was recruited me coming out because he actually played high school ball with my head coach, and just kind of slipped through the cracks. And he's like, "Listen, I got a spot for you up here." I didn't even take a visit up here. I just signed it. I really like Coach and Coach Cackless, and me and him got along really good. And that my freshman year is one of the most memorable I've had, you know, not only with him, but my teammates at that time, you know, and it was a really great year.
Outstanding. Tell the folks, tell the fans, other than just being a spiritual leader for Vic and all the other guys, and Brenton and Max and all the guys, tell the fans basically what you do during practice now and some of the things behind the scenes you do.
I'm very low key. I'm very. I let the coaches do what they do because obviously that's what they're paid for. You know, I'm little details, you know, stuff that you don't think about, you know, like a couple of my buddies like Vic has awesome technique and stuff, so I don't have much to say about him and all the other guys, but, you know, few stuff here and there, just most of the morality of the practice. You know, I love going to practice and I see a lot of people jumping around, getting juiced up, you know, making a lot of noise, big hits, stuff like that. So, like, when I see practice kind of being down, you know, that's when I feel like I need to come in and, you know, great practice. You know, you feel good, you look good, you play good on Saturday, you know.
Zach O'Kelly and I were doing some prep work this week, and we were doing the points that we score per game, points we give up. It's a little skewed. If you take the Martin game out of there, this defensive unit has played pretty well, even by the numbers, haven't they?
I feel since this is one of the best defensive units I've seen since I've been here. Been here for 5 years and played with 3 of the years here, and this is, you know, one of the best units I've seen play.
Talk about Coach Fells a little bit.
Coach Fells. He's a character. I tell you what, like none much. Being with him for 4 years, seeing transition from where he's at right now, like I couldn't be more proud of him as like just a coach or a defensive coordinator. You know, he's very, you know, to the point to where, you know, stick with the process, go with the process, and you keep building on yourself. Help, you know, and not only building yourself up, but bring everybody else up with you.
Right.
Because that really determines how good of a football player you are. Not how good you are, but how good you make everybody else.
Right, yeah. And still, I think people forget how young Willie really still is. I mean, 4 years ago, worked into this role and, you know, comes on board several years ago, but still a very young coach in his own right, but maturing. Talk about the Campbellsville bunch coming in. What do you see with them, along with what Vic said?
Very tough game, but I see us winning this. I feel the whole week of practice been really focused. Everybody's been, you know, being on the field, everybody's a little bit more juiced up for this one. You know, not only is it, you know, it's our first money game. Yeah. And, you know, I know everybody doesn't like the all hype about the homecoming, but it's homecoming. Yeah, sure. People are going to be here. People are going to be in the stands.
You want to play well every game, but especially in front of the former players too, yeah.
Exactly. Well, I mean, this is the type of game that people have, you know, me and Vic, we're out of state. We live out of state, so our family comes up and see us every once in a while. Yeah. These are one of the games where they come up and see us, so you kind of want to play a little extra good for them, you know.
Well, good luck to you. Always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you.
Sorry about the injury. People that don't know, he had the injury, came back, and made a go of it, and then was re-injured. But certainly, I think you see, folks, the character this young man is and what he means to this football program still. When we come back, the head mentor himself, Coach Elliott, will join us. You know, guys, we pull out all the guns when you guys are here. Our lovely producer-director today, Bridget Neisler. I mean, it's not just Kelly and I running the show today. Bridget's back here running the show with us as well. So we'll be back right after this. Stay with us. This is the Chris Elliott Show on Wildcat Vision. Hi, everybody, and welcome again to the Chris Elliott Show. And the coach, Chris Elliott, has joined us right here in the press box as we get ready for the big kickoff. It's the big game because it's the next game, but it's also a big game because, as the guys just told you, it's a money game. It's a Western Divisional game, and Coach, some big ones left, and they all count, but these really do count, don't they?
Well, they do. I mean, these are, you know, like you said, the money games. These are the ones that determine whether or not you end up with a ring at the end of the year. So, and then get a ring, and then obviously have a chance to go to the playoffs too.
Yeah, Anthony was just showing us both those rings. He's got enough rings. He's got them on each hand over there.
We need some more.
Yeah, that's right. We need some more. Coming off a very impressive win. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's always, you know, it's not easy to get one, and anytime you can achieve that, that's a good thing.
That game started a little bit in our favor, like the game the prior week started against us, didn't it?
Yeah, well, it's nice when things go on our side as opposed to the other way. But yeah, we'll definitely take it.
And if you don't believe in good starts, folks, I'm telling you, Coach, momentum-wise, confidence-wise, boy, it's awfully good to get off to great starts like that, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I mean, when things happen the way you want them to or the way you plan, that kind of allows that momentum to build and get going on a roll in your favor, which is much easier to keep going as opposed to trying to break someone's momentum and then trying to start your own.
So many young men played so well, and just I could go on and on. We could spend 45 minutes talking about all the kids that played well, but I'd be remiss in the record books with the Sellers to Walden 90-yard pass.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I don't have a chance to go back and read through that stuff as much as maybe you do, but it's nice, whenever guys do good things and then they have an opportunity to be recognized for it.
Yeah, we actually caught that right on the air. I didn't catch it. My crackpot statistician and assistant Zach O'Kelly, he was right on that. I mean, right after it happened, he went right to the record book, almost sitting where you're sitting right now, and so a big impressive play. But again, so many kids played well. Let's start on the offensive side. A lot of young men stepped up and played really big.
Well, I mean, the first people you have to acknowledge would be the offensive line. I mean, we had almost 650 yards of offense, I believe, and none of that happens, without those guys. And of course, those are the guys that most people don't ever get a chance to know their names.
Yeah, Raymer and Walden don't go over 100 yards apiece without the offensive line.
No, I mean, you don't have people gaining yards on the ground. You don't have quarterbacks being able to throw the ball, people being able to catch passes if those guys don't do their job.
I read your quote too, and you gave us a quote on the post game. Raymer, boy, he runs so hard, doesn't he?
Well, he does. He's one of those kids that, no matter what you ask him to do, he's going to give you all he's got and then some. And he's done that ever since he's been here. And it's crazy to think that he's a junior already and almost finished, with our program. But, he's done that from day one.
I've been around the Mid-South Conference now for 24, 25 years, and I was a little surprised. And great league, great integrity, and I have no problems with players of the week for the most part. A little surprised, though, that Walden did not get player of the week. I thought he really deserved it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just one of those.
I don't
things.
nominate him, but
yeah, I mean, there's not much you can do about that. There's a lot of good players in this league that probably did a lot of great things last Saturday. So, just a matter of how they get picked.
Now, I told Coach Elliott when he came on with Vic and Anthony preceding him, he was really have to do even a better job than he does a great job with us each week. But you really have to be at the top of his game. These guys are great. I don't know if they won't replace O'Kelly and McCulley here before the thing's over. But those guys, they know defense as well as they know a lot of other things. But certainly, boy, going back to the defensive side, they both bragged about him, and I will as well. The defense really played well the other day.
Well, I mean, they should brag about him. Yeah. I mean, we held them under 100 yards rushing, which anytime you can
took a lot of things away from them, didn't we?
Well, we did. And of course, I think they had less than 300 total yards offense. So for a day's worth of work, that's pretty darn good. And that's what we're looking to achieve.
Special teams, all in all. Good effort?
Pretty solid.
Yes, solid.
Pretty solid. I mean, our kickoff cover team was really good. I think we hit 6 of our 8 goals. We have 8 goals every week that we try to achieve special teams wise, and the 2 that we didn't get, we were only off by a yard or 2 on those. So, really a great effort overall.
Created some turnovers. I know you talk every week about the turnover ratio.
Yeah, I mean, I think we ended up even for the game. We took some away and then we gave some away. So right. we've got to continue to take the ball away and stop giving it away, so that number will start turning in our favor. But it's one of those things, you just keep working on it.
Well, the next game, Campbellsville. The Tigers come in from Campbellsville, Kentucky. They've had a great tradition up there. Perry Thomas has done a good job. 8th year, he's done a solid job up there. Comes in with a really good ball club. Coach Elliott and I talked off camera earlier. We like to run. They've had trouble with the run. They like to pass. We've given up some yards, let's be honest. We've given up some yards in the passing game, although I think we're going to shut that down this week. But we better, because Jacob Russell and their passing game, very, very good.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's kind of odd. You look at their statistics, they're actually pretty balanced in terms of rushing attempts and passing attempts, but where they've had the majority of their success is passing the ball. And they've got a lot of guys back from last season's team that was a playoff team and had a lot of success, quarterback, receivers, so they do make a lot of plays in the pass game. Running the ball, they struggled a little bit, but they do enough that you have to respect it and keep stay honest with it. But it's going to take a great effort, but our pass defense is getting better. We have a lot of younger guys that are key parts in that. So every play that they get on a Saturday, they're going to learn and get better as a result of it. And up front, we're playing, a lot better, and we're getting a lot more pressure. So, hopefully the combination of all those things will come together, and we'll do really well against it.
Yeah, Vic and Anthony both talked about how young this team is, but how they progress, and the youngers, the freshmen are really not freshmen anymore, and the sophomores are not sophomores anymore. Going back, the best defense too, one of the best defensive scheme of things is for our offense to run the ball and keep their offense off on the sideline.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much a known fact that their offense won't gain a yard if they're sitting on the bench. So it's our job as an offensive unit to control the control the ball, control the game, and keep them off the field.
What do they do defensively? What stands out to you?
They do some different things based on what we're going to line up in. I mean, they show some 3-man front stuff, 3-3 stack, 4-2 defense, 4-3. Just really all depends on what we do. But so they do some different things. But they lost a lot of guys off of last year's defense. It was pretty good. Lost a lot of their linebackers, although the linebackers they've replaced them with are, all top 5 on their team in tackles. So, it's still a very solid unit, and we're going to have to play really well to be successful against them.
They're giving up 30 points per game, and on the ground, I'm looking at yards allowed on the ground. They're giving up, they're averaging 358. In passing, but on the ground they're still giving up quite a few yards, and that's one of our strong points. Love to see that offensive line dominate again. I'd be remiss, Anthony and Vic both joined us earlier as folks, and we've alluded to that, and they saw it earlier. They didn't miss any classes to be with us, I might add today, by the way, academic people out there, that's just for you. I mean that seriously, but talk about these guys. Talk about what Vic's meant to your program. Talk about what Anthony's meant to your program.
Well, Anthony, unfortunately, his senior year is not going to end the way you would hope it would for somebody, like him that's come in and done the things he's done for our program. But, to his credit, he hasn't allowed that to get him down. And he's been the same kid, even though he's been injured as that he was when he played, and he's still contributing to the program just like you would expect. And, unfortunately, he's had to do that the last 2 years. So, his better days are ahead of him anyway. So, the fact that he's not going to get to finish on the field is not the end of the world, because he's got a lot of bigger and better things coming.
Yeah, Bill Sherrill, who's a friend of mine, Bill and I go back to the old Lambeth days. He's what we call a stringer in the business. He's a writer. He writes for Baptist Reflector. He writes for the Commercial Appeal, and not only the Jackson Sun, and does some things for us here at Bethel, and does that free of charge, I might add, which we really do appreciate him. But I loved his article he wrote, and he talked about Anthony, and your quote in there, hey, he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's we all hit bumps in the road, and it's just one of those things. That's how it happened for him, and I hated to see it, but things happen, and how you deal with those things and how you overcome those things are really the mark of who you are as a person.
The other guy plays a lot better than we pronounce his name, but talk about what Vic, he's had a great solid senior, right up there with Massengill and others, right near the top all year in tackles, total tackles. Talk about Vic's influence in this team.
Well, I mean, his influence is, on the field and off the field. He's one of our leaders, one of our vocal leaders. He's a member of our leadership council. So all the off the field things, are very important, but on the field as well. He's kind of one of the guys that's more upbeat and kind of getting guys going and things like that. So, he's invaluable to what we're trying to do as well. And then, of course, playing linebacker in our defense, it's one of the more important positions. And of course, you would expect him to be at the top of the statistical, things with tackles and things like that, just because he plays that position.
Now, we know Perry Thomas is probably watching this. He and all the gang up there, Jim Freeman, the radio voice of Campbellsville. We won't give away a lot to you guys, but give me a couple of keys for a win.
Well, I mean, offensively, we need to build on what we did last week. I mean, if we can play as well as we did up front and control the line of scrimmage and, be able to have some balance running and throwing, because we were able to do that, it's going to put us in good position. Obviously, have to take care of the ball better. We say that all the time. But, those are the things we need to do on offense. Defensively, we need to get pressure on the quarterback. If you let him stand back there and get comfortable, then you don't want to ask anybody, whether they're old or young, to cover somebody for 5-6 seconds. If we can, get pressure on him and make him have to make fast decisions and have to try to read coverages and things like that quickly, because the pocket's breaking down, that'll put us in a better position. And if we can take the ball away from them, that's going to give us, anytime you can steal possessions in a game, anybody you're playing is going to put you in a better situation.
Coach, again, congratulations on a big win last week. Let's get another one, put another one in that win column. And as always, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you.
Coach Chris Elliott, he is Chris Elliott. And this has been the Chris Elliott Show. Our thanks to Vic and Anthony and of course, Chris. And Zach O'Kelly joining us earlier, and our lovely producer and director, Bridget Neisler. Go Cats. Let's go get them. 1:30. You can watch the game with a countdown to kickoff show beginning here at 1 o'clock this coming Saturday, and the kickoff at 1:30. Homecoming. A lot of festivities taking place before. There'll be a band playing out here around 10 o'clock. Lead us right up to 1 o'clock, 1:30. We'll be on the air at 1 o'clock, and then the kickoff at 1:30. Hall of Fame will be recognized at the end of the first quarter. Band will perform the homecoming court, the queen, the king, all the things that go the pageantry of college football. It all comes your way at 1:30 with a kickoff against the Campbellsville Tigers. For all the gang I mentioned, I'm Diamond Dave McCulley. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Chris Elliott. And until next week, actually until Saturday at 1 o'clock with a countdown to kickoff, so long, everybody.